Why do Bengals feel like they're operating at 120%? 8 years ago, I adopted Latte. He was a tiny Bengal kitten with a bald patch on his left arm. It was from his mom over-grooming him, and because of that, he needed to be separated from her. The moment I saw him, I knew I couldn't leave him there. At that point, I was working from home, which meant I had all the time in the world to figure him out. The bad part? I lived in a 24 square meter studio in Seoul, Korea. Tiny kitchen, tiny living space, well, tiny everything. But I already had 2 other cats, so Latte would at least have a brother and sister to grow up with. I had no idea if this was going to be a beautiful bonding experience or a complete disaster. If you've ever researched Bengals online, the descriptions are slightly terrifying. High energy, demanding, constant stimulation, basically a small leopard. And honestly, some of that turned out to be true. 8 years later, the question I keep getting is the same. Did he actually calm down? Young Latte's energy was difficult to describe. It felt like he was always on a mission. Sprint through the apartment, climb something illegal, yell at the wall, then immediately start investigating the next thing. What I learned quickly is how investigative Bengal cats are. If something moved once, made a sound, opened, or, worse yet, contained any food, they remember. A bored Bengal will absolutely find something to do, usually something you didn't want them doing. Pretty quickly, I realized apartment life with a Bengal is mostly prevention. I stopped reacting to the problems and started trying to predict them. Cables were the obvious target. I ran everything through cable boxes and kept the cables out of the way from day one and gave him Silvervine Sticks and kicker toys to chew on instead. He never really developed the cable habit because the better option was always right there. Open cups were also a terrible idea in the beginning, so I switched to tumblers or bottles. The thing I didn't expect was the food dispenser. He learned to headbutt it before he was a year old. Some food actually came out of the cheap one I had at the time, and even though I switched dispensers, he kept the habit. 8 years later, he's still hoping the food comes out. For his energy levels, obviously a lot of playtime helped, but the cat wheel was incredible at that time. It let him sprint for as much as he wanted without needing a huge amount of space. Fetch worked surprisingly well too, since it didn't need much room. But climbing opportunities became my favorite solution because they helped burn energy passively from just exploring and moving around in the room. The cat wheel unfortunately broke down after about 3 years with him and the other 3 cats using it daily, and became too loud to use without disturbing my neighbors. I might introduce one again eventually, but for now we manage without it. If you're getting a Bengal in a small apartment, a wheel is expensive, but a good investment for their enrichment and your sanity. So, did he calm down? Yes, but not in the way that people expect. The physical chaos definitely reduced with age. He doesn't bounce off the walls anymore, but that curiosity part never changed. If anything, he just directs it better now. The way he shows boredom changed over the years too. As a kitten, he'd just immediately get into something he shouldn't. But by year 3 or 4, he started wandering first. Sniffing corners he already checked 100 times, checking doors to see if they're unlocked, like he expects the apartment to somehow update itself. And that's usually my cue to either start a play session, bring out a food puzzle, or redirect him before he invents his own project. If a Bengal cat finds something genuinely interesting, they will dismantle it, especially if it contains water or food. The drama though, well, that never left. He's still vocal. After 8 years, I can pretty much tell what every sound means now. The yell that sounds like he's dying means he's looking for something to do. The yell is attention seeking, and the chirp means he's happy and content. The food obsession luckily has calmed down slightly over time. Before, maybe you could look away for about 10 seconds before he investigated your dinner. Now, you maybe get 4 minutes. Persistent? Definitely. Annoying sometimes? Absolutely. But socially, he's actually pretty respectful for a Bengal cat. He pushes boundaries with the other cats, pokes at them a bit, then backs off immediately if they're not interested. There's no disciplining a Bengal, not in the way that people mean it. If you yell at him, well, he's just received attention. If you chase him off something, that's a game. Negative attention is still attention. And to a Bengal cat, attention is the goal. What worked much better with Latte was staying calm, removing whatever it was that was overstimulating him, and redirecting him somewhere else. Over time, they figure out what actually gets your attention. There is one thing he hasn't grown out of after 8 years: biting, foam slides, and slippers. At this point, I just don't buy them anymore. Surprisingly, Latte got more affectionate as he aged. When he was younger, he mostly just wanted interaction through activity, play, movement, but now pretty often he just quietly walks over and wedges himself between my arms on the sofa. Beyond just play, having other cats around shapes them in ways that you can't. Latte almost never sleeps by himself. He's usually curled up beside one of the other cats. Again, I'd strongly consider getting them a companion around the same age. It doesn't need to be another Bengal, they just genuinely need interaction more than they need the huge amount of space. Luckily, when we moved into this larger 55 square meter apartment, having easier access to quiet outdoor spaces added a whole new type of enrichment for him, and he definitely enjoys this change of pace. Health-wise, Latte has done surprisingly well considering how wild he was when he was younger. No major accidents, no serious injuries, and somehow he probably still has the best teeth out of my 4 cats. 8 years in, here's where Latte landed. The energy changed, but the curiosity didn't. He's still dramatic, still loud, and all of it is just part of the apartment now. One thing I'll add, Bengal cats are tree dwellers. They want to be up high, watching everything. Once I started building upward instead of just thinking about floor space, Latte became a much easier cat to live with. I covered this whole idea in my last video, how different cats want different things from apartment spaces, and how you can design around that. So if you want to figure out what your cat naturally gravitates towards, watch this video next.